So welcome to this session on exams matter, and it's a topic I'm thinking about quite a lot because my third child has her GCSEs coming up this summer. So I wanted to share some tips to prepare your children, for those of them who are having exams, for the Easter holidays. There is so much I could say on this topic, but here's a bit of insight. And if you haven't come across me before, I used to be a primary school teacher. I founded Educating Matters 22 years ago, and I have 4 children from between the ages of 12 and 13. So when I speak to parents, I am very much drawing on my experience with my own children, teaching hundreds of kids and supporting tens of thousands of parents all over the world. So my favourite book, I've read a lot about revision and how children learn, but probably my favourite book ever on this topic is The Student Mindset. And the authors have 25 years of teaching experience researching what it is that the very best students do at GCSE and A-level. And it boils down to 5 main things, which they call Vespa. So the V is for vision. So does the student have really clear goals and targets? The E is for effort. Do they really understand what hard work looks like? And are they able to sit down and focus? The S is for system. So that's to do with how they organize their books, their notes, how they plan their work effectively. The P is for practice. So using a range of techniques when it comes to revising, really going out of your comfort zone and getting feedback. And the A is for attitude. And I think attitude underpins everything else. That's what I discovered as a teacher. And that's how I ended up transitioning from being a teacher to doing the work that I do today. When children have that growth mindset, when they believe that if they work hard enough, they can improve, those levels of self-belief, staying calm, managing stress, that is all crucial. And exam success is really about learning how to learn actively. It's the way you practice, not how often, that counts. And we need to treat our memories like a muscle. Memorizing is a skill that can be developed and improved. And to be honest, different things work for different people. So it's about trying things out and understanding how you learn and what helps the information to stay in. But to stay really alert, it helps to keep changing the method. Our brains, they love color, variety, movement. And the more interested the brain is, the easier the information goes in and stays in. So for most kids, their standard approach to revision is reading, usually lying on a bed, listening to loud music, highlighting bits and pieces, and making copious notes. But this is really just copying, and they might only retain about 10%. Passive repetition gives students a full sense of security because it feels familiar, but it's actually really boring and ineffective. So there are 3 key stages of practice. The first is around content, so memorizing the information by whatever you do, making notes, flashcards, etc. Part 2 is the skills, the exam practice, answering questions, reading model answers. And part 3 is the feedback, marking work, looking at the mark scheme, discussing answers with teachers and students. And underperforming students tend to spend too much time in phase 1. Information does not pass exams. You need to use the information to problem solve, answer questions, and construct arguments. So let's explore some revision methods. And I'm thinking, about my daughter with GCSE. Some of you might have kids with A-levels, but all of this applies to summer exams and even primary school, whether it's 11 plus, Key Stage 2 SATs, whatever it is. Here are some tips on practical skills your kids can use. So one is Post-it notes or index cards, so you can have keywords or phrases literally wherever you want, all over their bedroom, on their bathroom mirror, in the hallway corridor. But carrying them around as a prompt as well can help. And these days you can make digital versions of flashcards, so they can use these when they're out and about on their phone. So you might have a word on the front and the definition on the back. A summary page is something I remember using a lot when I was studying my history degree. So you take a whole topic and get it down onto one piece of paper. And reducing and condensing notes as much as possible really helps with understanding. And then you can reconstruct that sheet from memory. You remember what you write 5 times more than what you read. So at the end of the revision session, they can literally take a blank piece of paper and just write down everything they know on one page. I remember my husband, when he was studying for his law school finals, uses a lot of mnemonics and acronyms. Those certainly help with remembering information, but don't really help with understanding. And then you've got mind maps, and these help with, especially for visual learners, they help to really absorb and remember things, because our brains actually usually absorb pictures better than words. Now, the key to an effective mind map is your child has to devise them themselves. And here are a few books by Tony Buzan on how to, he's kind of like the guru of mind maps. So how they really work, and your kids may have learned at school how to use these, is you put a main topic in the center, and then you have thick colored branches coming off that central picture with key themes. Thinner branches off the themes with colors, pictures, symbols. And then in the exam, your brain can remember the color of the branch and any images and even its position on the page. Another method might be linking information that they need to memorize to a song or a rhyme with a catchy tune. I remember this is how my son learnt his Spanish GCSE oral off by heart. Another idea is reading out notes, saying them to yourself, recording it, and then listening when you're in bed, when you're traveling to school. The link method is a way of creating connections between different items you need to remember. So just as an example, if you need to remember the royal houses in the order of their reigns, you could start with thinking about the Normans. So picture Norman Bates. You probably don't know who that is anymore, but Norman Bates is having tea with the Queen, and then he steps onto a plane. So the plane is for Plantagenets, and that plane is a Lancaster. So there you can remember Normans, Plantagenets, Lancaster, etc. So I think the most effective way to really study is teaching others. Effective revision is about deepening your understanding, not just memorizing information. So if you can explain an idea out loud in your own words to a friend or a parent or even a teddy bear, that is a good way to clarify it for yourself. And when someone asks you questions, that stimulates your thinking. Now, of course, this depends on your child's friends and whether they're supportive with this. But my third child uses this technique a lot and works very collaboratively with others. Sometimes even just in silence, but knowing that there is that presence of someone else when you're studying. Now, practice papers are absolutely key. Active recall is the only way to learn effectively, and to rehearse what it is you're actually required to do in an exam and understand what the questions are asking. So being familiar with the format of past papers, recalling information, organizing it, and then applying it to the answers. So when you're starting out with this, you can just plan quick answers to save time, especially for essay-based subjects. And then you progress to timed exam conditions where they're writing the answers in full. And that means you're practicing using time effectively and being familiar with the exam structure. I remember that my second child, when it came to GCSE, spent way too long in phase 1 of memorizing. And what my third is now doing is practicing papers, especially for science and maths, because it's way more active and a lot less boring than just reading or writing notes. And then when she can't do a question, she'll go over that topic again. She also takes the exam specification and uses highlighters. So green is to the topics that she needs to spend the least time on because they're familiar, and red are the ones where you need to put the most energy. And there is a tendency for children, students, to spend too long on the subjects they really like or the topics they already know well. Now, feedback is crucial. Teachers say, well, it depends on the school, but they're very often prepared to mark as much extra work as students provide. That is the only way you learn how to improve, taking feedback on board and putting it into practice. And then you've got this idea of reviewing 5 times. So if you really want to commit something to your long-term memory, you need to look at it straight after, the day after, a week later, a month later, and a few months later. And keep asking, the students should keep asking themselves, or you can ask them, is what they are doing productive, efficient? Are they benefiting? Is the information sticking? And for further support and guidance, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I comment on there most days. Subscribe to our newsletter. Check out our blog, which has got lots of free resources and advice. And also we have an online self-study parenting course on raising children to thrive. If you have got exams, or sorry, not you, I know it feels like it's ours, but if your child has exams coming up this summer, I wish them the very best of luck. Thank you.